I'm unapologetic about the fact that
once you're getting into any kind of business, it's your business.
Yeah. If you didn't then back that up with your feminine energy, I think you need both.
Female-founded brands deliver 35% higher returns.
We are here today for a Women's Roundtable in celebration of International Women's Day. Thank you for joining me. I wanted to gather women that I find extremely inspiring, founders of wellness brands, lingerie brands, beauty brands that have done incredibly well and have so much to teach the world beyond women. And so I'm really grateful to have you all here today, and we're just going to go around for a small introduction. If Helen, you can start, please.
Of course. So my name is Helen. I'm the founder of INDI. We sell whole food supplements and a snack bar, soon to be 2 snack bars. I launched the business 4.5 years ago with my husband, Chris. The business launched within weeks of our first daughter being born. So I'm also juggling this incredible business with my 2 young girls.
Wonderful. Thank you. Just take it to Mariana.
I'm Mariana. I'm a founder of Oblique, London's prime beauty destination. Really wanted to change the face how beauty is perceived. Beauty is an empowerment tool. So we don't only empower ourselves through beauty, but also the team is part of empowerment. And unfortunately, beauty industry is these days a lot undermined. Team members are not treated well. A lot of them are underpaid, abused, not paid at all sometimes, being treated badly. So really I wanted to build something that is more sustainable, where a team feel cared for. And when the team feels cared for, then you can really build a strong, sustainable beauty enterprise. So this is what I do.
Amazing. I'm Lemon. I'm the founder of Lemonade Dolls. Lemonade Dolls is all about inclusivity and diversity. It's the new lingerie brand in the UK that's bestseller now in John Lewis and ASOS, and we're all about innovation and kind of creating first-to-market products that really kind of takes the lingerie industry by storm.
Yeah, I love your lingerie. My name is Celine. I'm the founder of Wholyme, a brand focused on sharing how powerful authentic care is. And we're very focused on producing products that enable you to respond to your body's alarm systems in a thoughtful and caring way. So we have balms for muscles and joints, bath salts, and a range of products. And so can we start with a little bit of a background story of why you started what you started?
Sure. So my background is entertainment industry. I have no background in business or fashion. I'm a singer, but I set up an Instagram account at LA Airport called Lemonade Dolls to make women feel good about themselves. And I was a bit angry and passionate, and when I get angry, usually things happen. So
why were you angry?
Well, I'd spent like 10 years longer in the entertainment industry, and I actually did.
Can you say what you were doing in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, so it started on TV. So I was a dancer, choreographer, and like Saturday night entertainment shows. So you might know some like Strictly Come Dancing, Comic Relief, those types of things. Basically, if it was like Saturday night, 8 p.m, BBC One or ITV, I was probably either on the stage or helping choreograph what was on the stage. But I've always sung, so then I started writing my own music. I've always written my own music, but I decided, right, I'm done with TV now. I'm going to start touring my music. I started touring my music around the UK, did really well, supported Little Mix, did all the prides, but I couldn't get signed over here, so I got a one-way ticket to LA. And it then really kind of took off from there. I think I was a bit more suited, my kind of energy was probably more suited over there. And actually, I do believe in the American dream of, like, you know, when you're good. I went to sessions and I did a good job, I was invited back. You know, it wasn't about who you know, and it really wasn't about who you know, which it very much, I feel like we have that here in the UK. So it just really spiraled, and I had an incredible experience. I got signed and worked with some of the biggest producers, wrote for some of the biggest artists in the world. And it was incredible, but that whole experience, everything, you know, as a woman working in the entertainment industry, it's all about the way you look. Are you pretty enough, skinny enough, fat enough? Like, honestly, like, there's no, you think it's one way. It's not always that way, right? You know, it's like, are you white enough, English enough, black enough? Literally everything is about your appearance. And actually, I really felt like I was never really in control of my life. I'd always have management, agents, people kind of running my life. And so that was the first bit of why I was angry. I mean, we can go on. The second bit was actually I really identified a lack of confidence in women, which is probably maybe relevant to this conversation. But I climbed the ladder really quickly. I don't want to say I had some lucky moments, but I worked my arse off to get where I have got to today. And I often did it in the entertainment industry with other fellow friends, but they were men. And there were women that were so much better than me, cleverer than me, better than me at specific roles or specific opportunities that I was getting and they weren't. And I really identified that the key driver that the key differentiation that I had was that like unwavering sheer belief that I was going to keep going, and I never ever stopped. And I did that with all my guy friends. And that really started to piss me off, because I was like, why are these incredible women that are better than me, this, that and the other, didn't have that belief as much. Which I think will come into this. But so I started Lemonade Dolls to build, and I was like, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm not the best. I've done this and I've been able to achieve this, and so can you. And then it was a bit more general. And then anyway, this community grew organically, and it was really exciting. And I realized I wanted to do something bigger than just focusing on my own career, and do something for something bigger, and maybe multi-millions of women, millions of women, and then that Lemonade Dolls started like a couple of years later.
That's really interesting. From
the community. The community asked for it, and then we started.
So you really started as like, I want to empower women to be more confident and go.
Lemonade Dolls did not exist in any other capacity for 2 years.
So interesting. Yeah. So many more questions, which we'll get back to. Mariana, can you tell us how you started?
To be honest, even 9 years down the line, I still don't even understand what am I doing every day. I seem to be building, expanding, redesigning constantly, and like, wow, it's been 9 years. And I go back to think, how did I even start? But I think it all came from an intuitive decision that the right time for any business there's never a right time. So there was an opportunity for a dyeing salon to be bought, and somehow, I decided to go for it without having any background in beauty or any beauty management, or to be honest, I wasn't even a fan of beauty procedures. It was just an intuitive call. And at that point, it was not the right time, because I just had my third child. The oldest one was 4, and we were not living even in the UK. So yes, I just grasped onto the opportunity, started to work. I was front of house for the first year. I was getting all the calls. I was transferring at that time, nobody used mobile or WhatsApp. So 9 years ago, I would use the landline and transfer all the calls to my mobile to be able to answer after hours, no matter where I was. So I was quite fanatic about what I was doing. Sometimes at 10 p.m. I would be doing someone's brows, and my husband would be like, Mariana, it's Friday at 10 p.m. We're waiting for you for dinner. You're like 3 hours late. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm just finishing brows of a client. For some reason, I decided that I should know all the trades. So I did all the training with my team and tried and tested things. And somehow I ended up doing brows for 1 year. I don't know. It's yeah, so I was always, since early age, very curious about any kind of business or anything. So I would do little jobs, summer jobs here and there, just to be inside a business to see how things operate and to learn. So I think I just lead with curiosity every day. So I don't know what's going to come next, but something definitely will evolve.
Well, you've gone from that to now having 3 salons and more in central London with hundreds of team members. And you've grown really, really quickly. I mean, I don't know anyone in the neighborhood that hasn't heard of Oblique or keeps trying to get an appointment of Oblique and can't. So you've done a remarkable job at that.
When I hear, to be honest, from around the world,
yes,
that people in Miami or Dubai or Monaco or even Italy, they all know, like people talk, like, you know, they go to get a service and like, oh, but you know, Oblique in London. I mean, it's a huge honor. I never envisaged that, but I just do my best every single day. That's it. And I try to always teach my team to just go for it and let every day be the best day they can. And even my team, I explain to them that it's a craft and a trade to enjoy. They are actors on the stage every single day. So they perform with their open heart to the best ability they can. And I guess that's why we cater to thousands of happy repeat clients all the time, because people know when they come to us, they're well taken care of with really kindness and love and heart and deep attention to every detail. Yeah.
I can't wait to come.
Me too. Yeah. I'm sold.
Good luck getting an appointment. Helen, how did it start for you?
So my background's in brand and marketing. I actually spent the first nearly 14 years of my career working for beauty brands, big corporate companies. And I'm really passionate about beauty. I'm passionate about the incredible ability as a woman to be able to add confidence. You know, it is from the outside in, really. And I loved those roles. I loved working with market-leading brands. I learned a lot from incredible people, but I always had this sort of burning desire to do my own thing. And I, for years, toyed with the idea of setting up my own beauty brand, which was the space that I knew. And I never really saw an opportunity there that felt like a really unique point of difference. You know, I think there's a lot of beauty brands doing a lot of amazing things. And there wasn't really a niche that I just didn't want to do the same thing, but different. And I don't know, we're probably 6 years ago now, my husband started getting very passionate about nutrition and about supplements. I think we had always had an interest in food and eating healthily and living well. But from a supplement point of view, I was completely overwhelmed and took nothing. I would sit on the sidelines wondering where on earth to start, being afraid to try and fail, I suppose. Whereas my husband, Chris, was the complete opposite. He would buy every supplement that he could get his hands on. I remember spending hours in places like Whole Foods just waiting for him to finish reading the back of every pack. And we had, you know, cupboardfuls of things that he had tried and then rejected. And that's really where our business was born. It was this kind of personal interest. He found his own groove with supplements. He was actually making a lot of his own blends. He saw the power of the right supplement routine. You know, his health improved. I remember he used to get a lot of coughs and colds. He was tired a lot. You know, these are symptoms that I also shared, but he was really doing something about it. And that's where the idea was born. And initially, I joined him to support him with brand and marketing. And as the business took off and as the feedback started coming back on how phenomenal these products were, I couldn't step away. So 4.5 years later, I am a co-founder of the business. It became my baby as much as it was his. And I think we're both incredibly passionate about doing something where we really know that we're making a difference in the world. You know, the feedback that we get from our customers is phenomenal. You know, really changing people's sleep, changing people's gut health, changing people's lives. You know, these are really things that make a massive difference in the short term, but also in the long term. And also just being able to live by our initial instinct, our initial plan, which was to just keep it simple. You know, NPD is the funnest part of our job.
God, I love NPD.
I love NPD, but
it's new product development for anyone who doesn't know what it is.
It's as a founder and as a passionate founder, especially Chris, he's always dreaming up new ideas, but we're really focused. You know, we have it on big letters on our wall. This is about a range that does the hard work so our customer doesn't have to. So 4 products that are easy to shop, easy to understand, and really tap into really common health concerns and tap into really common deficiencies so that people don't have to be overwhelmed in the way that we were.
Wonderful, thank you. And for me, it was a also deeply personal story. Mariana, you know, I don't know if you two know. I was very young, about 9 or 10 years old, the first time my mother struggled with an inflammatory autoimmune condition that was very debilitating, very painful. And it's really when I started taking on the role of being a caregiver. And it inspired a huge curiosity about the human body's abilities and vulnerabilities and why was this happening, which is why I went on to study sciences, so human biology, genetics of human disease. And then I worked for large pharmaceutical companies in medical education. And then I set up a hair loss clinic in London, actually to support my mother in huge life transitions, with my sisters as well. And then it happened again. What had been dormant for over a decade came back, and I was back in caregiving mode. And this caregiving aspect of my personality is something that happened from that young age, but it happened even for myself. When I had a lower back injuries, I started to have to take a more holistic approach to my own well-being, and I cared for my sisters when they were unwell, my grandparents, and I realized that actually deep, authentic care, to speak about what you're saying, I think this resonates so much, Mariana, with your approach of actually the standard of your business being the staff, the team that you're curating. Your focus is taking care of them so that they can take care of others, and that ripples outwards, and that's really felt. And that's totally the philosophy at Wholyme of real, authentic, powerful care is what fuels our human existence. We don't live as individuals in isolation in the self. We live through how we are received by others. But to care authentically, it starts with you. And your body's constantly talking to you. So what are aches, pain, stress, fatigue? It's just your body's alarm systems. And when we approach ourselves in a thoughtful way, approaching those alarm systems in a way that doesn't compromise long-term health, then we are equipped to take care of everybody else. So we see Wholyme as a way to take care of yourself so that you can show up for everybody else. And I wanted to go back to a point you made, Lemon. Excuse me, it's your brand.
I can be lemonade, any fruit.
Sorry.
I've got like a local
Lemonade
shop.
flower?
Yeah. I've got a local shop next to my house, and they find it really funny every time. It's 3 guys that work there, and like they're really cute, they're really nice, like older guys, and they every time I go past, they're like, "Hey potato, hey strawberry, hey orange, hey broccoli." Yeah. Anyway, I mean, I get it all.
And you respond to them all.
I love them. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Lemon. I wanted to take it back to something you said, Lemon, about confidence, which it sounds like you attribute a lot of where you've gone to confidence. And I'll come back to you on that, but I wonder if you girls feel like confidence was something you had when you started your company. And Mariana, can you start, please?
I think confidence is quite subjective because we learn by creating mistakes through trial and error, and the confidence comes along the way with your growth. So going 9 years back, I wasn't confident about what I was doing. I didn't even know where do I stand. What am I doing with the business? I didn't even have a plan to grow it essentially to something else. So confidence is just something I think that you grow with as time passes.
I might just challenge you on that though,
Yes.
because I actually think you probably had more belief and confidence in yourself if you didn't know where you were going, but you still did it anyway.
Yeah.
And you weren't sure where you were going to fit in the team, or you weren't,
Yes.
and you didn't know where this was going to, but you did it anyway.
Intuition.
But you did it anyway, and you were like, fuck it, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to go. For me, that is confidence.
And for me, that's intuition.
Okay.
So for me, I'm very intuitive. Still today, every single day, I make most of my decisions intuitively.
Yeah.
Sometimes they can be, of course, wrong, but you shouldn't be worried about the outcomes. So confidence for me is something that you get as you grow on.
Yeah. I actually totally resonate with that. I also feel like confidence is a muscle we build. It's the more we face our fears, which are they're fears. So you're not confident. Like, I know this is going to work out. And you're like, I'm terrified, but I'm going to try anyway. but it's by falling and getting back up that you're like, I fell, it didn't hurt so much, and I'm willing to try again. And then you start to build your confidence, at least in my experience, which is why I wanted to open it up as a really interesting topic.
And I also think that confidence for women and men is very different. So confidence for women is being very intuitive, feeling into it. And for men it's just being confident because I'm a man and I can do it, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I also have an opinion on that. I think that there's a lot of conditioning, right? I think that, and I'm really curious to also hear your take on that and your experience with confidence, but I think there is a lot of conditioning of men from a young age are told to go after their dreams, to become, in general, I mean, we'll always find exceptions, but to go after their dreams, to be the providers, to go for the big dreams, to do all that. And I think women have a tendency to be conditioned to be pleasers and, softer, and don't be too opinionated and don't be too loud and look pretty and,
You get a driving license and pretty much that's it. That's all your life.
Exactly. And if you are bold and you have opinions, you're very intense and it's not very elegant. And I think there is that conditioning where somehow it requires more bravery to go after your dreams. But I think women are extremely brave and bold and do it anyway. So the conditioning isn't really working. But I wonder, what about you? Were you confident when you started?
I think it sort of came in ebbs and flows. They were part of building a business that felt like I'd had the training. It felt like, I would look at some of my peers building businesses and I'd think, I've worked in retail for 14 years. I've got loads of experience on these guys. Listening to your story, that's phenomenal. You were stepping into a world where it was so unknown. It was a different industry, but there's so many similarities between beauty and supplements. So in some cases, yes, I felt confident. I had a lot of contacts. I had a lot of mentors that I could call on for support. But on the flip side of that, the question I get asked the most often is, are you a nutritionist? I think it was the first question you asked me when we met. And when I first launched, Chris and I would hide behind the scenes. We never put ourselves out. We were barely on the website because we kept saying to each other, we're not nutritionists. Like, everyone's going to think this is just, two married couple just a bit bored coming up with a product. And we had such phenomenal experts behind the development who had supported us that we sort of just kept pushing them out into the limelight. And it took both of us a while to kind of step out from the sidelines and to realize that our story was interesting in a different way. And we started having confidence in saying to people, we don't have formal training in nutrition, but we are the customer. We understand the challenges that you are all experiencing day in, day out. And yeah, like I said, it sort of took time for us to get there. And there are still days where I sit, I'm doing an event in a couple of weeks, I'm on a panel and there's 4 nutritionists and me. And I still walk into those situations and feel terrified. But I try really hard to lean into the fact that I bring something different. And I think I get my confidence from being I try in those situations to be honest about what I do and don't know. If somebody asks me a question that I could sort of answer because of everything I've learned in the last few years, but there's someone next to me who's better placed to answer it. I've learned to have the confidence to say, that's a great question. I actually think some of my more experienced colleagues next to me would be better placed to answer it. And I see myself as part of these panels offering something different. And I think a good panelist also helps to direct the questions in the right way. So yeah, a long-winded way of saying sometimes I feel confident and sometimes quite the opposite. But in the times that I don't feel confident, like we've just been saying, that's sometimes when you grow.
For sure.
And those uncomfortable moments are when you learn and develop, and next time it feels slightly less uncomfortable.
For sure. I completely agree with that. And so, Lemon.
I'm waiting for that.
No, where do you think your confidence came from for you?
I don't know. I think, I popped out the womb like in jazz hands and splits, I kind of came out ready to rock and roll.
So you believe that was innate? It was not taught or...
I think it's both. I think it's all of it, right? I think everything has kind of... We attribute so many, energy, what we learn from our parents, from our friends, from experience, and then also what we were born with, 100%, all of it, I think. But and I think it's important to say that I don't think confidence means that you think you're the best or are the best, right? Confidence is a belief. What I call confidence is a belief. And I was really lucky to have really supportive parents. And
were they performers?
No. Very humble beginning, but super supportive in everything that I did. And I was I was putting on shows at 3, like.
Oh, wow.
At dinner, well, just in my house, in our tiny little house at 3 years old, being like, watch me, I'm going to put on the entire film of Annie solo, And they did, and then they got, I know, I just think I got it from. I do, but my parents were married before, so they were a lot older than me. So then I grew up with kind of 17, 18, 20-year-old, which again helped because and I'm a Leo, and she loves that, We love to be loved, and we love to give love. And I think I had a struggle. My mum was super strong and ambitious, and is, and had a great career. And I just think I was always been taught that you can go for your dreams, and I just kind of went for it. But I think even like listening to you guys, I think I'm actually finding it interesting that we all have a different take on what confidence means. Yeah. Because I certainly didn't know what I was doing. I often doubt my decisions. I often doubt where the hell, I don't know where I'm going next. But for me, the confidence is resilience. And it's the confidence in believing that it will all be okay and finding that resilience. But
you can definitely, I agree with that. You can be confident that you'll figure it out. Like whatever happens,
exactly.
You'll figure it out. So
and also like believing that, I think I've always been a big dreamer. I'm a visionary. So like if I am a visionary, I'm a visionary with belief. So then that hopefully leads to those kind of big moments, because if you can believe that the vision is possible, then and I think most of the time you have to believe it, manifest it, kind of, make it happen. It doesn't land on your lap. It's serious amounts of work. Nothing happens overnight. A success has taken 10 years to do, and everyone sees, I don't believe in an overnight success, ever.
I think it's also amazing that you've done it on your own, because I wouldn't have been able to do this without my co-founder, who is my husband, because he is the visionary. He's the person who believes in the, you should have seen his forecast when we were first creating the business plan.
We're going to make 100 million.
Years. Honestly, the problem for him is that he's got that as his kind of success marker, and we didn't do 100 million in 2 years, so he's licking his wounds. But I am the very practical, pragmatic day-to-day, how are we going to do this? And he is a brilliant counter to that by just saying, we just will, and he keeps reminding me of kind of where we're heading. And he quite often puts other brands in front of me that are doing, 10, 15 years ahead of us, that are doing phenomenal things. And we truly believe that we have a better product than them and a better overall proposition and a better value base. And, and that constant reminder is really brilliant. I am also a counter to him. In sometimes saying, we really don't need another product. I know that's fun and sounds wonderful, but let's just focus on where we're. So I always admire people who've done it on their own, because
I've also been building 9 years on my own, and I always dream of having somebody to vent with.
I've also done it on my own. I think in the panel you're
I'm starting the second business, and second business has a co-founder.
Yeah,
I'm quite happy on.
Are you?
No, I think it's. I think it's really important to have team members that are extremely devoted and skilled at supporting you on your vision. And if you have that, it's like having a co-founder.
Yes.
I don't feel like my team is beneath me in any way. I feel like we have a radical candor approach, so everyone shares everything. We're very, very honest with each other. And I feel like I do have my partners in my vision. I don't need someone to have the title of co-founder because they're a team with this kind of culture we're creating, where we can sit down and be like, okay, I don't actually know how we're going to do this.
But you might also be in a position where, because I would like to say that Lemonade Dolls is exactly the same. I'm not above any of my staff and my team that we've grown, but And you might just be in a really, your personality type, the way you have built the company is actually perfect for you to be the only founder in the company. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think to say this, the reason I say this is also I was on my own for a long time, and that was really, really difficult, and I really struggled in that time. But now that I have a team, I actually feel fully supported. And you know, I have a head of operations, I have a creative director. Everyone holds the vision and has ideas, and we're such a small team that you can. And this is a broader topic, I think, now with the advancements of AI and agentic AI and general intelligence being around the corner. I feel like we're going to have strategic partners in a way that we didn't before. So I actually think that the world is going to look really, really different, and what we feel we need, I mean, I think it's a key important thing as a founder is to build the right team.
Yeah.
And if you have 100%. The right team, then
100%.
it shouldn't feel so lonely to be building.
Yeah.
That's my feeling right now, at least. But to take it back to International Women's Day specifically, I would love to hear in your founding journeys, and maybe this time we start with you, Helen. Obviously, it's really interesting to have your take here because we're 3 solo founders, but you have a co-founder that is your husband. How has that been like for you? Do you feel like there's any difference in the way you're received as a co-founder who's a mother and a woman and the wife? Is there a difference between that gender difference between you two? Do you feel like that's been...
It's funny, as you asked that question, one example immediately pops into my mind where we get so many cold sales emails, as I'm sure you guys always do, and I got one from a man that said, I've been trying to get hold of your co-founder Chris for some time, and I can't remember the exact words, but it was, I haven't had any luck, so I thought I'd try you. And the way it was written, I can't remember, like I said, word for word, but it was so bad that rather than deleting it or putting it into spam like I do with most of them, I actually challenged this guy in a moment of that was obviously my mood that day. I just replied saying, reread your email. And this man replied saying, I apologise, you're right. And I don't know if it was poorly worded, if it was badly like the intention was bad, but he did apologise. But so, to answer your question, sometimes I definitely see us being treated differently.
Have you raised money?
Yes, and he's done it.
Yeah.
So we've always, partly because the way that Chris and I describe our roles is I do everything fun and he does everything boring. That's just generally how we split up. And it started as a joke when we first launched 5 years ago because it felt like his business and I was just helping him. So I would, and also brand and marketing is the fun bit. He does all the MPD, but other than that, he does the finance, he does the ops, he does the fundraising. And that's sort of how it began. And then as I very much became a co-founder, we sort of stayed in those lanes. And I suppose it plays, that is my background and it keeps me busy. And he's very busy doing his thing. And when it comes to fundraising, there have been some calls that I've joined, but the majority of it, he's been more than okay on his own. And you just need to look at the stats of how hard it is for women to raise money. That we've sort of just left it like that. So I suppose in a way, I feel guilty saying it because we've not challenged that we've just...
No, it's actually great that you say this because I think it's such a reality that needs to be addressed and that you have a co-founder and you were like, you know what, we know the stats, let's make our lives easier, go ahead. Totally. And that's been your experience.
And I think what has happened, which is interesting, is that the people who have invested in us, and so far we're talking angels, we've not taken the leap yet into kind of the world of VCs, but all of them are incredibly supportive of me and of Chris. So we've found the right people who, through my second pregnancy, were very supportive of me taking a bit of time off, very supportive of me coming back, very interested in our family, very aware that Chris and I absolutely co-parent. We don't, he sometimes jokes he does more than I do. But it's very, very fair. And I think everyone that we've involved in our business is really supportive of the fact that we're raising a family and that we do that together. So we try and surround ourselves with people who aren't putting me in my box because I'm a woman, aren't diminishing my part in the business. You know, I think that's part of it. But yes, of course, there are people that we meet, you know, occasionally, and I feel a bit like I'm the sort of wife who helps with the website. There's been those moments for sure.
And it is really interesting. And I know, Mariana, you haven't raised funds. You're totally self-made, and we raised funds. In fact, the way we know each other is we share an investor that we both adore. So a little shout out to him. And I think it would be interesting for us to share also our experience. I think, you know, you hear so much on social media and everywhere that, and partly I believe it, that what you make your own reality, and what you step into something believing, you will confirm. And I absolutely did not think my experience was going to be what I experienced. I come from a household of 5 siblings. We're 5 sisters, so we're all women. And obviously my mother, so really a lot of women in my life that have always been empowered to go after their dreams and be entrepreneurial. So that's been hardwired in me also from a young age, because my parents were entrepreneurs both. So that entrepreneurship was not an alien concept in that sense. And I did not go into I had never fundraised before, they never fundraised before, so that was a new field for me, and I went like, I'm gonna fundraise. So I fully believed it. I envisioned it the way, like, it's going to happen, I'm gonna be successful at it, and I'm just gonna do it. So I did not go with any limiting beliefs. And honestly, it was, I did a chunk of it in France, and I'm sure in Paris there's also a different mentality. I was not received, I'm pretty confident I can say, as a woman, I was not received the way a man would have been walking through that door. And I felt a lot of, you know, if I said my studies, like, oh, that's shocking, I thought you would be in communication. Really, no kidding. Like, I thought you studied international communication or something. Like, unexpected that you're a scientist. Or I would, you know, explain my story and have a response that was like, oh, honestly, this happened. An investor said, a potential investor who obviously did not join the round said, oh, you should really put your story forward. I thought you were just a cute girl trying something cute. Wow. Yeah, just a cute girl giving entrepreneurship a try, something like that. And I was like, is he saying this to my face? Like, if you think it, it's one thing, but you're actually telling me. And I was faced with a lot of those. And, you know, obviously I am so grateful to the investors that I actually took on board, that in the end I was discerning and found amazing investors, overwhelmingly so men, but very, very supportive, that don't make me feel like I'm less than any of their portfolio companies in any shape or form. So I ended up being very lucky, but my experience going in was not going with the expectation that as a woman I will not succeed, and I did succeed, but as a woman I was not received the same way as a male counterpart would be. How was your experience?
Also, I imagine quite difficult when you're presenting to men. You know, more often than not, as you alluded to, all of our investors, our angel investors, are men. So trying to sell in a concept.
Yeah, I think so. Like, it's been a wild ride, like wild. This is probably not for today, but, you know, if you listen to any of my other podcasts I do, like, you'll hear the dirt, and it's dirty, and it is crazy. But I think, you know, the positive side of it, it's really taught me to be a better entrepreneur and a better leader and founder, because what I understood was you cannot go without being 100% in those meetings, because you're already doubted by majority, not all. So you're doubted by majority. And so you have to nip that in the bud within the first 20 seconds of entering the room. So I'm actually really good at fundraising now, and I'm really confident at it when I was really shit at it and rubbish. And I was taken massive advantage of at the beginning, and anyway, whatever, that's the past.
So was that a situation where you went in not feeling confident when you were initially fundraising? Do you remember feeling
Yeah, I remember feeling, I'm completely out of my depth here at the beginning.
Because we don't have the capacity, maybe, and the knowledge how to do it. How to start it correctly.
Yeah.
And imagine at the time, I mean, now I think of people who want to go into entrepreneurship, and I'm like, the amount of things that would take me hours and hours and hours now would take you seconds because of AI. I mean, when you fundraise, I didn't know what fundraising was. How do you summarize the different ways you can fundraise? I was reading books old school. I was reading books. I didn't have the funds for lawyers. So I'd draft, I'd find contracts online, I'd read them, try to understand them. I found them from US websites, so what's the UK equivalent law? I'd change them, draft them myself. Things would take forever.
The biggest question I get asked by female founders is, should I raise investment? And I'm always like, well, I don't know. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to build like a £100 million business, or do you want to build a £5 million business? But I always say, if you do want to fundraise now, my biggest, and I've done a few things and like kind of sessions on it with women, it's being like, you've got to know everything. You've got to know your numbers. And the moment you enter that room, you've got to go, if you don't know those numbers, you're going to be eaten. Yeah. Or just like not considered. Just not considered.
And so you agree that but particularly as a woman, right? As a woman, you need to be way smarter and more prepared.
100%.
And your confidence alone
100%.
won't do it.
100%.
Yeah, I definitely
100%.
experienced that.
But actually, on a positive spin on that, I'm better than, and I've got a long way to go and lots more to learn, but I'm better now for that experience because no one knows the numbers in my business more than me. And I'm a creative, I'm a singer. Like, I'm a visionary, so to be able to, to have that skill and also to understand the energy and the presence, which I think coming back to that femininity side, like you have to bring that masculinity into certain roles to lead, I believe, personally, but in investment and fundraising, that is key.
Yes, for sure. And for you, Mariana, you obviously didn't fundraise, so that particular angle will wash off, but do you feel like starting your business, being a woman, was complicated in any way for you?
Not at all, because I'm in a girly business, and sometimes it's very interesting how I interview many people for different roles. And just last week a woman wrote, "Oh, I want to swap my tech for a girly business." I'm like, girly business? In a sense, it was very sweet, but on the other hand, we are as difficult as any other business. So we're not a girly business. No. Like, it doesn't matter. Do you sell underwear? Do you sell
but also,
industrial
what does that even
factories?
mean, a girly business? Are we implying that girly means weak in any way, or soft, or easy?
I've asked her, actually. I said, what did you mean by the girly business? Because we work here, sometimes super long hours. We're overworked, burnt out. We have to deal with so many clients, front-facing, so many issues, things collapsing. I don't know, the market collapsing. We're always worried about, are the people going to have the capacity to spend on beauty? Because ultimately, it's not the first need. Like, we're always, once we're developing, we have to consider so many things. And because we offer so many different services, we are not capped at our expenses. So whatever is, we're always in a position where we have to compensate by something. So it's not a girly business at all.
But then what is a girly business? What does that mean?
I think there's such thing.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing as a girly business. And why are we undermining girls anyway? Anyway.
Girly business is just maybe playing Barbie when you're 5, just changing dresses. That's maybe girly business. But once you're getting into any kind of business, it's your business. Yeah. And you have to, and as a leader, you always, as a woman, you always have to be in balance of your feminine and masculine traits, right? To be able to give a great result that people need to, in order for you to be followed by your team. Anyway.
And on that note, I also agree, we all, whether you're a woman or a man, as you both touched on, we have feminine and masculine energies within us. Curious to know Mariana, how would you differentiate between the feminine and the masculine?
To be honest, I don't differentiate. I just accept sometimes that at some point, when you have to really show up and push through the force, I feel that's more a masculine trait. And once you actually realize that maybe, you know, sometimes I need to listen to myself and my body more, that's the more leading from a feminine, the intuitive side. So I think then it has to come in a balance to be able to lead the way. And I must say, I think when I was 9 years ago starting my business, I was much more in my masculine. I did not listen to my body, my senses, my mind at all. I was completely overworked, and I didn't even understand why, because I was not in my feminine power back then. I didn't really know who I was. I didn't really understand that work is not the whole life. I was really just pushing myself, pulling myself to a capacity where I already had like a stomach ulcer, you know. So, and I was not in my feminine power. And I think 5 years down the line, I realized, hold on, let me tap into something more feminine. Let me tap into something with more grace. And maybe I shouldn't be so direct. And maybe I should be more soft. So I have completely changed my management style. And now for the past 3 years, I've been more leading from a feminine point of view, being more of a fairy to my team, trying to be not so direct. So for example, if I need to give a negative feedback, I always do it through a counterparty from some of my management. So I tell them what I see, and they feed this information this way that my team doesn't. We don't have this direct confrontation, which I think helps to keep the team more. I guess I inspire them more. I don't give negative feedback, and we're not in conflict. Because before I would be so direct, I would be so demanding, working through my masculine. I think. I could have done better and faster to evolve.
And do you think that came from a place of stress at the start when things were so new?
Of course,
your success was so unknown.
Of course, because we're starting a business I knew nothing about. Like all of a sudden you open the door, you have a CRM system you have not seen before, and you're trying to sell a service that you don't know even of its cost, you know, because I never did a business plan. In my 9 years of development, I have never done a business plan. And of course, I'm not saying this is the right thing to do. And maybe, you know, I was lucky back then, but I think also the whole economic situation was different. I think London was in such development hype and in such demand for our services. So if I'm looking at today, would I start my business without a business plan? Of course not. But then I could. So I think it's just the times change. So you have to be very worried about the economic situation and what you're trying to do, and is your service in demand? Yes.
So interesting. I have an opposing view on the conflict side. But obviously, I think we have very different team structure. We're a very service-based company. It's different. But in general, I feel like conflict breeds intimacy. And so I'm all for conflicts and being direct with my team, which doesn't always go smoothly, but I do think it actually breeds intimacy and that we're much, much closer as a result. So I don't mind giving, which is why I said we actually have a culture of radical candor. And so I don't sugarcoat, I say it straight up, and they will hear it from me. And usually if somebody comes and tells me, you know, something separately, I'll say, why didn't you bring it up at the team meeting? I want everything said. Yeah, but you mean...
To the other service providers, I don't do that.
No, that makes sense, that makes sense. What do you think about the feminine and the masculine?
So I think as founders, CEOs of growing companies, I think we are little aliens. And I don't think that we're normal, like the normal persons. I think that's like a clear differentiation. So that's the first point. Second point, so because I think it's important, right? Because we're in a position, we're absolutely bonkers by thinking that we want to put ourselves through this and build these companies, build second companies, more salons, more products, like bigger companies, more, and what it takes to do that. So I think that's the first thing. And I think the second thing is, if you want to lead a big team and defy the odds and reach for the stars and disrupt an entire industry, you have to lean into a leadership style where you can lead your team. And I think that first kind of energy, that boldness and that directness is probably leaning into your masculine, because you are leading. That there's a reason why you're the founder, the CEO, building up ideas that no one in that room has ever even, thought of, but they want to be there with you, and that's why they're your team, And doesn't mean they can't do it. I mean, loads of my staff have gone off and started their own companies, which means I think I've done the best job ever, because they've been able to do that and I've inspired them. But and I think to get that idea, that's leaning into your kind of your feminine. But if you didn't then transfer that masculine, direct goal, reach for the stars, we're going to do it whatever it takes, doesn't matter, we've got 2 months to do it, we're going to do it anyway. If you didn't then back that up with your feminine energy of, you've got this, you have what it takes, I'm going to be here with you when we hit a stumbling block, no issue, it's not your fault. We're going to do this together, we're part of the team. So I think you need both, but I do believe it's that kind of harder hitting energy.
It's really interesting, and then I'll ask you a very specific question, because you are both a woman and a man, and I wonder if you are more feminine or more masculine, and is he more feminine, more masculine, because gender doesn't decide. But I see that. So it sounds, and the way that I tend to describe it is, I think the masculine is more of the structure and the feminine is the flow within the structure. And I think you do need both, but I actually think that women who lead from their feminine are exceptional leaders, because the feminine has this exceptional duality that really exists in the feminine, of being extremely devoted to a cause while caring deeply about people. And this nurturing, caring side, you can have all the dreams in the world, if you don't know how to care and nurture your team, you're not going to go anywhere. It's the team that's going to get you there. And I think that is a very feminine trait. So a leader has to lead people. And if you can't be in your feminine, you are not a good leader. And I think even men that are leaders and strong leaders are tapped into their feminine. And that's what makes them exceptional leaders. It's how much they care and nurture their team while being devoted to their cause.
You said something interesting that we haven't touched on, and that's that most women build businesses out of purpose. So we build things because we want to fill a gap in the market, and that's because we care about something. So how we all started our businesses, and that's comes from that feminine.
That's true.
Trait, and actually that's a lot of the reason why, women bring back more revenue for every pound invested into companies, women-led businesses, because we have a reason to drive. It's true.
Statistically,
two times.
Yeah, and then when you know that stat, it makes it shocking how little funding goes into. But then what was the percentage? Last I heard was
just under 1.98. But then I also do think that then if you are part of the 1.98%, you're mental and you're going for it. So then of course you're going to bring back all the money, because do you know what I mean? It's not a fair grounding, but. I do believe
there was a new report literally came out in last month, February, that said that female founded brands deliver 35% higher returns for their investors, and that's a brand new stat. So even
it's gone from 20 to
that's increasing.
So things may be improving, and I think more female founders are getting a seat at the table, more female investors are coming to the table, but it's still clearly in no way a level playing field.
Yeah.
And it's interesting listening to you having this conversation, because I've never thought about myself as having a feminine side and a masculine side, nor have I thought about how Chris leads or works day to day in either of those respects. But it reminds me of, I was listening to a podcast with Simon Sinek recently, and he was asked what makes a great leader, and his answer stuck with me, because it is everything that I've always believed in the way that I've managed. He said that lots of people think that being a leader means you're in charge, but actually a great leader is taking care of the people in your charge. Absolutely. And I think that's the way that I've approached managing teams in corporate businesses, but how we manage our small team now. If you listen to your team, care about their success, care about their passions, their goals, and also care about their life. You know, work is a part of the bigger picture. People will show you that respect and love and loyalty back. One of the best managers I've ever had was the biggest empath. She's a firm friend now, very, very successful, still in a corporate world. She was the nicest, kindest leader. And whilst there were people in that business who took advantage of it and as a result didn't succeed, didn't stick around, didn't feel inspired by her, the team that she built have all gone on to do wonderful things. And it didn't require any masculine energy. She was never firm, direct. She was fair. I suppose she was firm but fair. But there was never, she managed to command so much respect by just being the nicest person. And that really taught me something, that you can do it and not scream and shout. And I've definitely...
Definitely.
No screaming and shouting.
No.
I'm curious because for me personally, when I started, I think similarly, and I have so many questions, but I similarly was very push, not honoring my body's cycles. I think as women, we go through cycles that simply and factually and biologically men don't, right? And so we have hormonal fluctuations, we do have cycles, we do have our period, and that means our bodies perform differently in a given month, right? And I was someone that kind of always dismissed that and would power through and push through, and at some point realized, even myself, like, you are preaching to the world to listen to your body's alarm systems, and you're completely failing at doing it, because you're like, everybody listen when your body is intense or this or that, and I am actually not following my own guidelines. And I have really pivoted that, because I found that for me personally, my cycles were pretty harsh, and I had a few days that were very painful and difficult, and the more I would push through the pain, the worse my nights would be, and end up not sleep, and I was way more emotional. And really learning to honor that as a woman, I have these cycles. I'm unapologetic about the fact that my mood fluctuates and my capacity to push through fluctuates from one week to another in a given month, and I'm going to honor that and accept it. And I've actually changed the way that I work. And so if I need a moon day, I take a moon day. And it's something that I actually haven't yet, but have said I will implement even in the contracts of the women I employ, to say everyone can have a moon day and take a day off if you need to, honor your bodies, whatever you need. And so, thank you. It's not fully me. It's inspired by a woman entrepreneur that I heard a TED Talk. I think she's the founder of Superfood.
Okay.
And she started a moon day, and I was like, that's an excellent idea that I should learn from. So I
think that's an example of the kind of thing that your team may not even take you up on, but knowing it's there, and is a really powerful thing.
For sure. And I think that it does make a real difference to my performance. So why would I not honor that for everybody else? And I realize that when I do that, I sleep better, I have more creative energy, I have more vision when I do respect that my body has these cycles, and these cycles actually teach me a lot. So the more I honor it, the more productive I am. And I should lead from that productive force. So I do want to honor it for everyone in the team.
Because I think one of the biggest things that I've learnt from INDI personally, and from being surrounded every day by incredible scientists, doctors, nutritionists, is to be really in tune with my body. And I never was. So it starts obviously in my world with food. I am acutely aware now of how food makes my body feel, how it affects my energy, how it affects my sleep, in a way that I wish everyone could be. We are all very aware of, I had a big night and drank too many glasses of wine, the next day I feel terrible. But how many of us say, I feel rough today, really low energy, how many of us think, what did I eat yesterday? Or what did I have for breakfast? So I think that's a massive thing for me. And it's linked also to, as a woman, my cycle. I was the kind of person who I didn't even write down when I got my period. It would just come and then it would go, and it would come again and it would go, and it would always surprise me. I'm now much more aware of where I am in my cycle and what that means. You know, there are points in a woman's cycle where you are more adverse to risk. There's points in your cycle where you lean into risk and you feel braver and you feel more confident. And I think one of the biggest privileges we have as a founder, and don't get me wrong, some days it doesn't feel like there's a choice, but some days I can say, I don't feel like doing that today. That's not the best way of me using my day because I'm in this headspace. And as a result, I can be more productive. And I think that's why I love the Moon Day thing, because it's saying to your team, you're not going to be any good to me today if you're feeling rubbish. So you just stay home and you come back tomorrow with all guns blazing. Or just work from home, do what you need to do. And being respectful of the fact that as a founder, we do have that choice. Like I say, some days you have to sit in an investor meeting when you really don't feel like it. But when you can have influence, that's a privilege. When I worked for other businesses, you know, I would be sent off to New York for 24 hours on the first day of my period. What a nightmare.
And I'm curious because it's funny that we are 4 women around the table and 2 are mothers, 2 are not yet. And I wanted to know what the difference in that experience has been. Do you feel, maybe Helen, you can answer this one. Do you feel like you were ever held back or being a mother was challenging in the experience of building your business?
Yeah, it's funny. I watch some of my fellow female founders on LinkedIn. You know, there's a few that immediately jump to mind. And I do sometimes look at them and think, God, I wish I could hustle late into the evening or all through the weekend. But actually, when I come back down to earth with it, I think my children have given me some incredible balance and also some incredible perspective. You know, I have to log off at 5:45 to get home for my children. I take Fridays off because my second daughter is still quite young and that's my day with her. And I think if I didn't have the kids, I think I would have burnt myself out because I would have just kept going. You know, you mentioned earlier, especially at the start when you're working from home, goodness knows the hours I would have worked. Something that I've learned as the years go on, and I heard it from another very successful woman who has an incredible career. She said, you can have it all, but you can't have it every day. And that is something that I really remind myself of. Some days I am a brilliant mother. Some days I'm a terrible mum, but I'm a brilliant colleague. And some days I'm neither. It's just a big mess and the day doesn't go to plan. But I have acknowledged and I've made peace with the fact that I am not, you know, I'm there every day to put my kids to bed. But in the day, I don't always see them. So I think, you know, it's being aware of the fact that some days I can be a brilliant mum and on other days I'm a brilliant colleague, but it's really hard to always do both. You know, I'm home at 6 o'clock for bedtime. I try and make sure my kids know what I'm doing. I want to be inspiring to them. I have 2 young girls. I want them to see that we're building something. And actually, you know, we met on Wednesday at Whole Foods. I had my youngest daughter there. There is nothing more amazing than being able to show her what we're doing. And in all honesty, she's only little, she won't remember. But we have that on video. And one day I can show her that video and I can say, look, you were there with me. And they really have been a huge part of our story. You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, our business is 4.5 years old. My oldest daughter is 4.5. She really has been a part of it. So it has been a different journey. Of course it has. I think our growth has been slower because I'm a mum. And Chris would totally agree with that too. But we're doing it in our own way and trying really hard to enjoy the journey because it is a key part of our life personally as well as professionally.
Beautiful. Lemon. How would business and the world change if more women were in leadership positions?
I think there would be more purpose-led, community-led economics around the world. I think that, as we mentioned before, women drive purpose. Most women build with purpose. Most entrepreneurs we know are filling a gap in the market. They're creating something that was not there for them. And I think if we have more women in leadership positions, there would be more purpose-led companies and actually, higher performing companies, because we all know the stat, that women that are leading companies are bringing back more investment, per pound put in. So I think that's what we all, I'm certainly driving that and we need people in leadership positions to make the right decisions for even investment in companies. I know we've spoken about it before, but actually it comes back as a 360. People that are making the decisions on the investment, committees, the majority are men. And people invest in what they know, right? So we need women in these seats of power, so we can lift other women up. So the whole world. I can't remember the stat. You might know about the Buy Women Built stat. I think it's like £3.2 billion are being lost from the lack of investment into women. And, that is mental to think that we're not actually actively, in the streets. We ride at midnight to sort this out. Men involved, men leading the way, right? Because if we can understand that that's the gap. So I think it needs to happen. I think it will. One day. Maybe not in our lifetime, but it will.
Well, maybe. Who knows? Mariana, what is one message you want every woman watching to hear?
One, if we choose one, it's impossible. I think firstly, women should really gain that being feminine is a superpower. Yes. That we shouldn't be afraid to ask for funding. We shouldn't be afraid to ask for equal salaries. We shouldn't be afraid to... I think that also for women, it's very important to honor who we are, to know your own value, to really understand that there's never a right time to go after your idea, to share it with the world. So I can't really put it into one message, but the most important one is we should never shrink to a perception of women being weaker, of being moody, too emotional, too much of something, or even women should forget about being disliked. You should just go after your ideas, your dreams, and see what happens.
Beautiful. Thank you all for participating in International Women's Day Roundtable. I really enjoyed having you. And to close, I just want to ask you to complete this sentence. A woman in her power is.
For me, a woman in her power is sovereign, really standing by her truth, owning her worth, and being independent to make her choices.
Lemon.
A woman in her power is unapologetic, yet grounded. I think that makes her brilliantly dangerous in the best way.
A woman in her power is wild and self-expressed.
Wow. I think I'd say a woman in her power is a force to be reckoned with.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Fab.